Now,
we'll call this executive finance meeting to order. It's 3:35, and because of the lengthiness of our rules committee, we have recessed for now 25 minutes. At this time, we will have an invocation. If Joe, would you give us the invocation, please?
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, again, I'd like to thank you for this day and the many blessings of life. Thank you for your grace and mercy towards us as a people. Father, I'd ask for your continued blessings on not only our nation, but our Cherokee nation and the leaders. Help us, Father, today to make the right decisions for those that we serve, and forgive us where we fail. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, if the Secretary would call roll.
Linda O'Leary.
Present.
Bill John Baker.
Here.
Gil Anglin.
Here.
Audra Connor. Kara Cowan Watts. Joe Crittenden.
Here.
Meredith Fraley. Don Garvin. Chuck Hoskin. John Keener. Jackie Bob Martin. Bill Johnson.
Here.
Malvina Shophouch. David Thornton. Phyllis Yargy. You have a quorum.
We do have a quorum, and at this time I would entertain a motion for approval of the May 25th regular session. I've got a motion. I've got a second. Any questions, comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Martin.
I would like to ask the committee to amend the agenda to include an item about the federal contract information pertaining to cemetery and landfill, and because of the time essence, we need to deal with it today. And Mr. Doug Baines is here to present the resolution that the committee approved to amend the agenda.
Second. I have a motion to amend the agenda. Now, is this the item where they're going to ask for the full faith and credit of the Cherokee Nation for a private enterprise? Mr. Bain.
Bain to answer that question.
Ma'am. It's appropriate to discuss it before the vote. I mean, we've got a motion and a second and I don't see how we could vote to put it on if we don't know what it is.
The resolution is to authorize a letter of credit from the Cherokee Nation to the City of Fayetteville for performance of a contract to haul and dispose of trash from the City of Fayetteville at the tribe's landfill, and for the operation of the transfer station at the City of Fayetteville.
This would be the transfer station we have leased out to somebody else.
No, this is a transfer station owned by the City of Fayetteville, which they will pay to operate.
Got leased out.
The landfill is under an operating agreement with Indian Country Investments. They will perform the work in this contract.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Got a motion and a second to amend the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed the same sign. With the agenda will be amended. We'll make it item 3. At this time, I would, from the chair, ask that the reports be submitted in writing. I do not believe that we have time to fully take all those if the committee agrees. Got a motion?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So submit all your reports in writing. Moving right along, do we have any law enforcement requests?
Yes.
Law enforcement requests?
Now, there has been some additions.
Just a second, Doug. Any community assistance?
Okay. In your packet, There were 6 items, I believe. There's been 4 submitted since it was mailed out to you. They're as follows. Kansas Cardinal Baseball, $500. Miss O'Leary. Warner Senior Citizens Center, $1,600. Mr. Garvin. OK Area Senior Citizens, $1,600. Mr. Garvin. An individual, $250. Mr. Martin. And that completes the community assistance request.
Okay. Doug, are you ready?
Yes.
Go ahead, Ms. Gunn.
And I'll give you these and you can copy them and get them back to me. But the Chelsea Senior Center for $250. And then the Boys and Girls Club of Chelsea for $500. And I need to know what my remaining balance is because I need to give money for the Will Rogers birthplace fly-in.
$3,750 after these 2.
Then I need to give $1,000 to the Will Rogers Museum. Oh, excuse me. It's not for the museum. This is for the. It is to the museum, but it's for the log cabin dwelling, the original Rogers home. Offer sheet. But it would be to the Will Rogers Museum.
Chelsea Senior Senior Center, $250.
Yes.
Boys and Girls Club, $500. Will Rogers Museum for the log cabin dwelling, $1,000.
Okay.
Is that all?
That's it. Thank you.
All right. Now, law enforcement request, please.
Since the package was mailed out, there have been several additions. City of Wagner, $2,370, Mr. Garvin. All these until otherwise are Mr. Garvin's. Town of Warner, $2,370. Town of Porham, $2,370. Weber's Falls, $2,370. OK, $2,370, and Fort Gibson, $2,370. Also in the request, the City of Tahlequah, Mr. Baker, Ms. Connor, $5,842.11 each. This will deplete Mr. Baker and Ms. Connor's balance. That's all the additions I have.
So noted. Moving right along to old business, we have Sequoia High School softball field audit. I believe we're asked that be tabled.
I'm going to make a motion that we, in order to get this done quickly and get out from under the burden of doing the RFPs, that we just recommend, I'm just going to recommend that we use the same auditor who did the Heritage Center audit.
Is that a motion?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Doug, make it so.
Understood.
New business, motor fuels tax, motor vehicle tax, road projects request.
Yes, there are no road requests for this month. However, there are some requests for the recently created Bridge and Access Program. Ms. O'Leary, $3,385 for Woods Avenue Bridge. Ms. Shotpouch, $7,500 for the Jeffries Low Water Bridge, and $7,500 also Ms. Shotpouch for the Stick Springs Low Water Bridge. That concludes the projects this month. I went ahead and included this particular program in along with the motor fuels and motor vehicle road report. Unless I hear otherwise, I'll just continue to do that in the future. That way that every month you'll have your balance of all 3 of those programs in the communication.
Sounds reasonable. Any problems with that? Committee okay? Item 2, enact amending Legislative Act 3005 and authorize a comprehensive budget.
This particular budget modification, number 10 for the year, increased spending authority by $10,554,760. It's increasing on several funds, and I apologize it took me a couple of days longer than normal to get this out to each of you, and but it's got some significant movements of money in it, and I'll get through this just as quickly as possible. For June, we received the following grants from DHHS, 2 family service grants. Had some carryover adjustments on them, which reduced our total funding for that program, $50,802. We had 5 program carryover adjustments and a new award for their EPA funding source, $192,066. And the state of Oklahoma funding source, we had a child care resource and referral grant adjustment of an additional $13,003. Mod 10 had 46 budgets in it for this month. The general fund, the tribal fund, increased $10,137,858. There's Sequoia Centennial is requesting an additional $40,000 in spending authority, with the majority of that in contract services to provide a forum for a response to the state of Oklahoma's Centennial celebration. There was not any further documentation. The History Course Project is a new initiative requesting $87,400 in contract services to produce an online version of the Cherokee History Course, and it is expected to carry over into 2007. Database Consolidation Project is the next new initiative, requesting $522,540 in capital acquisitions to consolidate the patient care information between Cherokee Nation clinics and Hastings Medical Center. There wasn't any further justification or documentation related to the cost estimates or any quotes submitted with this significant request. I would have liked to have seen some quotes or something to support capital acquisitions of $500,000 that could have come from getting some RFQs from whoever's going to be providing this equipment and services. First Response Training Program is the next new initiative, $132,227, also in capital acquisitions to educate and train community people and employees in implementing the emergency first response system. No further documentation was given. Gen Fund Operations has a $2.6 million increase in it, but it's doing several things. First and foremost, it's transferring the unexpended funding for the Sequoia High School Multi-Purpose Center in the amount of $2 million from 05. It's transferring the construction management FY05 residual closeout entry of $560,000. That particular transfer is a transfer of under-recovered expenditures of the construction management. I've been in contact the last couple of weeks with the treasurer, Callie Ketcher, on the philosophy of the construction management recovery and the 10% administrative fees that are charged on our construction projects by the management group. Now that they have transferred to Cherokee Nation Industries, there won't be any further need for funding beyond this appropriation for construction management. We're still looking at how they're doing business in their current state versus how we did it here to ensure that we give some feedback to CNI's accounting people so they can take that knowledge and go forward with it. Third thing that Gen Fund Ops is doing is reclassing the stickball and Jack Brown projects to individual cost centers. It's funding an additional donation to the Cherokee Film Festival for $33,000. And it's funding the debt service requirements on the $2.5 million term note you approved for the Sequoia High School Center. Item number 6 is the reserve for Sequoia High School. It's being transferred into the Capital Projects Fund. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this Capital Projects Fund because this is a new terminology, but it's a significant item in this mod package. Sequoia High School Network Communication has a new initiative requesting $217,000 in capital acquisitions for contracting for equip the facility with cabling and equipment to connect to the Cherokee Nation network and supply the classrooms with monitors and other equipment. Again, no justification or cost estimates for that equipment was given. Emergency Management Disaster Fund, new initiative, $25,000 in supplies. Quality assurance. Now, this is a new recurring budget. This has full-time equivalents in it. Requesting $144,000 to fund 2 positions for an entire year to provide quality assurance services to projects performed by or on behalf of Cherokee Nation or their additional insured entities. This is a quality assurance function as, for instance, Cherokee Nation Industries is managing the construction projects with outside contractors. Then we have a tribal okay.
Continue.
The quality assurance budget, as I said, it's the Cherokee Nation's ability to somewhat oversee and monitor the quality of work on behalf of the Cherokee Nation that's being conducted on the projects around. The IHP Employment and Training Service is another new recurring budget. It's $91,000 to fund 2 positions and assist individuals that are applying for assistance from the Indian Housing Plan. This is tribal dollars that's being funded here for this service. It says it states that it will assist in increasing earning power through employment and training services. And I would request that the Controller's Office review this particular budget one more time to ensure that we don't have a duplication of services being provided out of our IHP and duplicated up with general fund. The substance abuse treatment has a $48,000 budget increase here due to the excise tax on alcoholic beverage sales at CNE. That carryover, that estimate is justifiable with their current tax income. Cherokee Publications increasing $35,000 due to increase in subscription revenue. That's been verified as well. Now, the following projects, there's 6 projects here that are coming into the general fund: the Supreme Court Building, Jack Brown House, Rhodes Lab, Warrior Memorial, Stickball Marble Field, and the Pavilion. These dollar amounts may even look familiar to you because these are the same projects you've already approved this year. However, they were administered out of the Construction Management Fund. What we're doing is we're discontinuing utilizing the Construction Management Fund and beginning to utilize a capital projects fund and a debt service fund. Not all of our tribal projects will qualify for the capital projects fund because it's going to be only those projects that, if they were included in the general fund, they could materially distort the financial picture of the general fund. Case in point, $25 million health clinic can have a distorted effect on the general fund. And it is, I'm very glad to see the administration taking this role and this lead and getting this fund up and running like it should be, along with its related debt service for the bond issuance. I think it's going to be a very clean administration of the books here as we go into these large projects. These particular projects are small in nature, therefore they're brought onto the gen fund, and that's why you see them there. The Marcoma property is requesting $147,000 for maintenance expenditures on the grounds and gym. Cherokee National Holidays requesting $34,792 for a high-end art show and a round-robin cultural experience. That's all the information I have on that. Rama Settlement Fund is requesting to reclass the $5,044,000 of Rama funds appropriated for the health facilities over to the capital projects fund that I just mentioned. Next fund types, the indirect cost pool has one budget in it for network and internet systems, $97,000 increase to replace the incompatible switches at the health clinics for voice over IP, which is the same thing that the administration and the tribal council's office went and upgraded recently. The tribal force account has one budget in it, natural resource force account, $15,000 to authorize the repairs needed on a D5 dozer. Internal leases. One of our projects had to do with some building building improvements where we're actually recovering costs through the space cost allocation plan, and that has a separate fund, so it obviously wasn't brought into the general fund like those other projects where we're bringing it into internal leases. The next fund is the construction fund. It's a decrease of $42,271,809, and you can see the list of projects, and I've broke them out in your documentation to show you which ones went to the general fund and which ones went to the capital projects fund. The capital projects fund are the Muskogee Clinic, slightly under $27 million, No Water Clinic, $6.3 million, Sequoia High School, $4.6 million, and Southside Admin Building, $3 million. Now, these are not the total funding authorized for these projects. This is the funding that was transferred out of the construction fund in 2006 to close out that. DOI Self-Governance Fund is an increase of $5,000 for the noxious weed program, and that I believe that's an earmarked program. IHS Self-Governance Health Fund has $1,001,000 increase pursuant to the transfers to the Capital Project Fund for No Water Clinic carryover and the related debt service. This is another one of them where we've got multiple funding sources coming into the Capital Projects Fund. The debt service pool, another new fund type, and that's simply, as it states, it's the pool that we collect the funds to service our debt. And we'll be making bond sinking fund payments in the future into this fund. As I said in my summary on the documentation, although some programs appear to lack supporting documentation after reviewing Mod 10, I find no technical issues related to the request, nor do I have any concerns about the related carryover amounts. I realize the reviews take a little longer. I'll try in the future to get it to you at a more timely manner, but with the increase, I wanted to make sure that we had a sound package here with the capital projects and debt service fund, and because we're moving, anytime we move over $40 million across the accounting funds, I don't want to have to come and ask you to do it again because we didn't do it right the first time. But I do believe that administration worked close with me for the early part of this week to ensure that we got it right the first time. I believe we do. That completes our review of Mod 10.
What's the pleasure?
I put that in form of a motion to pass.
Second.
I've got a motion, I've got a second. Questions or comments? Kelly?
Chair, Doug, this is not your question, but I mean, I don't think you can answer this, but maybe you can help me. And I must be very, very dense because I don't understand, and somebody needs to help me understand it, about this construction fund and the construction management division. We have already several projects that have been ongoing, and they're not complete. And so who ultimately, I mean, who's going to be reporting on these projects that we have ongoing? For example, this gymnasium of Sequoia and Jack Brown House. I think something had been started there, and you know, it's been a while since we've gotten a report on the progress of any of these things. So, what it looks like to me is maybe who do we ask our questions to? I'm confused.
Since construction management is responsible for managing not only the funding that this body appropriates to complete the project, but they're also responsible for the tracking of the project, and they're the ones that know where we are. We probably should look at asking CNI to provide a construction report each month. We're, as stated, we're over $40 million in current projects right now, and that's just what's in the capital project fund. That's probably the most appropriate place is to have CNI report it monthly in addition to their financial report and give a list of the projects, where they are in their estimated completion, and how they're running on budget.
That's what I was curious about, because before, I think we were hearing about Sequoia, the construction facilities part of it, at the resources meeting, and then we get a financial kind of report at the executive finance, but now it seems like we haven't been getting anything. Is that Todd Enlow? Is that you, Todd?
Well, Todd Enlow could report on the tribal projects that construction management is not responsible for. And I think it's primarily going to be those ones that's in general fund, the smaller ones, the stickball field, those lower dollar cost ones. The major ones, the clinic construction, this gym, those need to be coming from CNI, where the project managers reside, because they're going to have they're going to know all that, and it just need to be added to a monthly request from.
Can I know we have a motion on the floor, but and I still have some more questions, but can you all remind me that I feel like we need to add a report to this agenda, or one of the committee's agendas, to address the CNI part of the construction. And I guess my second question is, we have this stickball and marble field, and I thought it was on a previous budget that didn't get done. It wasn't a task that got done, and I know that we see a lot of papers and budgets and just easily confused, but I've kind of had my eye on this, and because I don't think it takes. I'd be really wrong, but $50,000 for a stickball field and a marble field is pretty expensive, in my opinion. All you need is a pole and a wooden fence, for a ball ground, and all you need is the holes in the ground for a marble field, is what I have observed. So, I think the equipment part is pretty inexpensive, and all we need is the ground. So are we buying property or what?
The line item budget is land improvements of $45,000, and the budget is land improvements of $45,000 and construction admin of $5,000.
What did you say? Construction administration? Is that what you said?
Construction administration.
$5,000?
What's in the budget? Yes, and $45,000 for land improvements.
And we approved this already? No.
You approved it in construction fund.
We approved it.
This is the transfer out of construction fund into the general fund.
And when did we do that? At the beginning of the year?
It would have been part of the.
Actually, you approved it twice.
Last year and then this year in construction and.
So I wonder how many times we have to approve it before we finally get
Well,
it.
you're not really approving this. What administration is asking you here for is not funded again, or not funded in addition to, only allow them to book the accounting transfer, which is an expense on one fund. It's a use of funds on one, and it's a source of funds on the other. But the Constitution's pretty clear that all uses of funds have to be provided for. So every time they want to book a transfer to do an accounting treatment reclass, it has to be a part of the mod.
Now, is this the stickball marble field that the Heritage Center is supposed to be doing? Because I remember.
We work on it, yes.
Define that.
Basically,
I'm sorry.
here's what I know about the project. It was passed originally in 05, and work never started on it in 05, so it was carried over into 06. Since construction management has moved out to CNI, and they have been focused on the gym and other larger construction projects, nothing's ever been done on this up to this point. And I've been working to try and find out all the details of where they planned on building that, and the details. And so obviously one of the things that they had in there was to work with the Heritage Center on construction of it.
Because, I remember seeing this, and it was somewhat associated with the softball field project at the time that budget was presented. So I guess I'm trying to understand. It's a carryover. I mean, I thought we appropriated money for a certain time, and the money had to be expended by September 30th, or it was no longer there, and we re-appropriated it. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, if it wasn't finished in '05, then we didn't, and I guess we requested it again, but I don't remember seeing it in the budget, because I looked. I mean, so evidently I was wrong, I guess. But, so have you found out where it's going to be and what we're going to do, and if we're going to do anything this year?
Yeah, and in fact, it was actually scheduled to be, or not scheduled, but it was actually planned to be developed on the backside of the powwow grounds. And there's a little bit of dirt work that needs to be done to level out the dirt, so it's not completely sloped, and there's not low spots that retain water. And so there's a little bit of dirt work, but you're right. It's a pole and a fish, and unless we make it out of platinum, I don't see it costing $50,000.
And then, and I don't know, Todd, since you're up here, can I continue?
You make it.
Are you then sort of assuming the responsibility, or have the responsibility then for all of these other projects that are listed over here on
For a good majority of them. And I could try and help address anything that I know about the Sequoia High School gym or other construction projects as well. But most of the smaller items, the storage buildings that were in the Lee School, we're moving forward on those as soon as we possibly can. We've been getting bids for the building materials themselves and trying to stay within our $125,000 or $150,000 budget. I think it's $150,000 for the.
So now that now I'm going down to I-35 and the Warriors Memorial, and I came to Tahlequah yesterday, and over where the memorial used to be, there's nothing but people working and tearing down. So, why are we doing things and then doing them over again and doing them over again and spending more and more money trying to get this done? Did we not do it right the first time, or what's the deal?
I would say that we didn't do it right the first time, but we didn't follow through when something changed. And by digging around and finding out exactly how the wall was constructed and how it was designed and how it was actually implemented, changed during the process. The original design called for stucco and some monuments, bronze monuments are supposed to be adhered to the wall. It doesn't weigh very much. And so they built that out of cinder block wall, and there was no filling on the inside of the block. So it's just basically a small, lightweight block wall to support stucco. The granite that was adhered to it, because the design changed, weighed about 10,000 pounds, which is a considerable amount more than stucco would have weighed. And so to ensure that we don't have failure on that wall again when we go back and restore the wall to the granite wall, we are going to build a solid concrete wall with rebar, so it will not move because there will be actually some dense material in there. So that basically what happened is the design changed and the wall construction didn't change with the design change. So that's why you see the wall.
Now, why is that?
I don't know. But the original design called for the stucco, and then somewhere in the process, the design changed, and we didn't go back and update the.
Now that's the story that I've heard for the War Memorial now, and I want to make this known. We did the same thing with the softball field. We got started, the design changed, and we have to spend more money, and it's still not done. By the way,
we turned sprinklers on yesterday, by the way. So
I will be up there dancing on the field when it actually is playing.
Give me a couple of weeks, we'll be dancing. Better stretch. Start dancing.
And then the gymnasium at Sequoia, I've been getting lots of calls, people saying, and I can honestly say I haven't been up to look at the gym or had made a visit or anything. But, when I drive by it and I look at it from the road, is it going to be handicap accessible? Or are we going to have air lifts to lift our handicap up through the front door? Because it's pretty steep. I mean, and I'd hate to be behind a wheelchair, and I'm a pretty stout woman. I could probably push anybody up.
Yeah, there's a couple of areas for access for handicap accessibility. One, you can go downstairs and there's an elevator that connects the two floors. And then the ramp system that they put in is actually to ADA compliance. It is fairly steep, but it's the code. But the step, I mean, obviously they wouldn't make it up and down the steps regularly.
I was going to say there's no ramps, though.
Yeah, there are ramps. You get the semicircle pattern of the steps, and then the ramp system goes back and forth next to the stairs. So there is actually a handicap ramp on both sides.
Are we done?
I guess.
And I would be happy, I mean, depending upon how you guys want to report on that stuff, give you updates on these and work with CNI to include any additional information for construction projects.
Second up.
Mr. Chairman, getting back to Ms. Yard's original question about the construction report on the major project. Mr. O'Leary and Mr. Trenton and I attended a 4.5-hour CNI meeting the other afternoon, and this was a lengthy discussion about this particular report, since that's under, I guess, the supervision of CNI. And the best I remember, the board discussed it, that they would put together some kind of policies and procedures where they would actually do the report on these major constructions if that's in their hands. Thank you.
Thornton. David.
I'd like to ask some questions on the gymnasium.
Anybody?
Do you have anybody that's going to go through there and inspect that, an engineer, inspect that gymnasium before you release it?
Yes, in fact, we have, that's part of one of the budgets that you saw in there was quality assurance. We have quality assurance staff that work inside risk management that are on construction, all the different construction sites on a daily basis, inspecting materials and to ensure that they are what was ordered, that they're in good material. They are there when they take core samples on compacted dirt, and they lay concrete to ensure that it's built correctly. And if there are any deficiencies, they write it up. They work with the project manager and to address those needs. But there will be a final sign-off and a final inspection on the entire facility.
I did take some time to go over and go through it. I had someone call me and tell me that someone needs to look at it. It looks like the roof is leaking. We've got tiles in the roof that are stained. It looks like the seating areas, the concrete are cracked. It's cracked from the top down to the bottom in several areas around the seating areas. Down in one of the classrooms, there's mold on the wall that's been painted over, but the mold's starting to come back through. And I noticed that on the floor, on the gymnasium on the north, probably west corner where the kids come in, the wall, that floor is cracked for quite a ways through there. And of course there's small cracks right now. On the outside, the big brick walls that's holding up the dirt that's been filled in behind it, those walls are cracked down the middle with all those blocks, and those blocks are like, they look like this wide and this thick, and they hook into one another. And those walls are cracked, those bricks are cracked right down the middle. They're look on the other side, but it looks like there's a lot of, look at it up there.
Yeah, on the majority of the stuff that you mentioned, I was aware of all of them except for the small cracks that you mentioned on the northwest floor. I noticed the mold, that has been reported. I'm also aware that the retaining wall, that the wall's cracked. They turned that in, and they're meeting with the architect. Engineers are evaluating. They're also getting with the manufacturer of the block system to find out which piece the design of the system failed. But they built it exactly the way the architect and the engineer designed it. But we are aware of all those issues and addressing those.
Thank you. I'd like to see a report of it.
Okay.
All done all through there? Karen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe you report in resources on this, right? Typically, that's our designated committee.
Correct.
Would it help, I know this is directed towards a council person, but would it help councilmen if maybe they standardize the C&E reports, something similar? I think we've been doing that, haven't we?
Yeah, to some degree, they've been reporting on primarily the Sequoia High School generated.
Beginning and end date and the budget and pitfalls in written form, so we have that every month. I guess I would like to see that, so maybe that'll help me.
Okay. I'll work with C&I and see what we can work out for the next resources meeting.
Thank you.
Mr. Larry?
Well, I just have a comment. It's very discouraging and very heartbreaking to know that our endeavors in a lot of projects have to be redone, revamped, revisited with high dollar architectures and things of that nature. And I'm just wondering if maybe we need to take time or an effort to really, I know that folks have looked at this seriously and it's bid out and all that kind of stuff, but it just really seems like you take one step forward and we're sliding back three, and every time it's costing us the people's money. And I don't like it as a council member, and I'm sure our people don't like it, and it also speaks to our credibility in these projects. And if we know we got a stucco wall, why are we going to put weight on it? I'm not an engineer and I'm not a builder, but I know that's just common sense. And once we start getting the mold in our buildings, it's detrimental to people's health and the air conditioning systems and everything else, and that stuff grows like crazy. It can make people sick. It's so disheartening to me to know that the things that we try to do and project and build is not done with the utmost, evidently, care, precision, and success. And there was another issue at Will Rogers Downs. I made a visit with them. It's been months ago. And I went in there, and that was another thing that was, we always call it another design or remodification to the tune of $2 million is what was reported. And I'm thinking, why can't we know what we're doing with the get-go? You know, and I think that goes back to what I said before about people being held accountable for these projects. Do you have the authority and ability to be able to determine these things? Are you limited in any way, or what? I mean, are there too many people making the decisions and one don't know what the other one's done? Something's going on. That's a question, I guess, Tom. And I know you've just been on board on some of this, but it's still a question to you.
And that's kind of hard to answer on some of those. On some of the projects that I dealt with and assumed responsibility for, some of it's communication and some of it is misunderstandings about intent. And like, for example, the Veterans Memorial, we had a veterans group that was instrumental in design and getting money and implementation. And we had a construction crew that was building the wall to what they thought was the specs. And then somewhere along the lines that changed, and maybe somebody just didn't get notified that, hey, it's now a granite wall and we need to make preparations. And so I can't speak to all of them.
I understand.
I will do due diligence to make sure they won't run into that
And
again.
I believe you will. But I think that's something that we as a council really need to look at. And I think that we need to know who's involved and whoever it is. We need accountability. This isn't a playhouse. This is very serious people's money and our future and future investments of the nation. And I really think that we need to really take a really hard, solid look at that. And somebody's got to say no, and somebody's got to say yes and know what to do with it. And that's something I'd like to see this council demand and be responsible for, taking that initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Todd. Go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I just want to offer a recommendation to the council for consideration. Usually, as you know, the amount of upfront planning and preparation to any large project is going to have an end result, and it's going to have a bearing on the outcome as far as how accurate that estimate is. Every time you approve a project, it's an estimate until they actually get it done. And this is, I think, another good example of an opportunity to significantly improve as a nation in our planning. And whenever you authorize a capital project with very limited documentation, planning documentation, cost estimates, engineering estimates, et cetera, to me, it's not a surprise how we can miss some of these significantly. So hopefully, we can learn from this going forward and learn that maybe we're not putting enough in the front end in trying to estimate just what is it going to cost and have an appropriate contingency built into that. I don't want to offer that as comment.
What?
Mr. Chair, due to time constraints, and we're 20 minutes over our projected, is there a way we can further the discussion in the next another meeting, or?
Actually, I think everybody was done.
Okay.
I think all lines are clear.
Call for question?
Okay. Go ahead.
I actually had a question, Todd.
Yes, sir.
A few months ago, we were told that some of the damage, if not all the damage at the Warrior Memorial was going to be covered by insurance. Is this outside of that, or?
I believe, and Doug can answer that, but no, this is not related to any repairs that I'm doing on the wall. It's still being covered under insurance. I think this is just a transfer.
Thank you.
Only authorizing the transfer.
All lines clear. I've got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. It is an act, but it is unanimous. Thank you. Moving right along, we amended the agenda for item number 3, which is a resolution calling for authorization for a letter of credit for the Cherokee Nation landfill. Who's going to speak to it?
Mr. Chairman,
Jackie Bob.
I will move to approve this and allow us to debate on this issue. Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Questions or comments?
And Mr. Chairman, if you allow me, Mr. Baines is here to answer the questions to this resolution.
If you'll set handy, I've got Mr. Thornton on the hook. Mr. Thornton.
Doug, where's this letter going to, and how much is it for?
The letter of credit's for $500,000, and it goes to the city of Fayetteville. The nation was successful bidder for a contract to haul and dispose the city of Fayetteville's trash and operate their transfer station. This will result in a new waste stream for the landfill of 200 to 300 tons a day initially, which translates into a royalty for the nation of over $100,000 a year as a royalty on the trash at the landfill. This will also employ 4 to 5 new employees immediately who will work, through the landfill and through the contractor. They will be Cherokee Nation employees, as the existing staff is, and of course it's all subject to Cherokee preference hiring. But it will be 4 to 5 jobs starting the end of September if this goes through.
On the equipment side, Does the nation furnish the equipment?
No, sir. The contractor ICI will furnish all the equipment for the transfer station and the trucking. They'll invest a little over $500,000 for that.
How are they going to come out?
Well, they'll make money on it. That's the object of doing it. And it also gives a local delivery point. That transfer station can be marketed in that Fayetteville area to generate more business as well, which in turn, any new tonnage does come to our landfill, and the tribe receives a royalty off that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Audrey?
It says that this letter of credit is until the contract terminates. How long is the contract?
It's a 5-year contract, and there are 3 5-year options if the city chooses to exercise them. It's a 5-year contract.
Can you explain a little bit the 3 items under the be it resolved?
Okay.
Stand on those for me.
Yes, essentially, the letter of credit covers performance of the contract with the city of Fayetteville. And there's essentially, item number 3, the first item, if the trash is not moved out of the transfer station, then the city has to find somebody to move it. Okay? If they go 24 hours, it'll be out the front door. All right. And if there was some kind of an issue or a default where they had to have the trash moved at their expense, the letter of credit would be to cover that expense. Now, there is a 60-day cure period for any problem in the contract, so there's a lot of room to work those kind of things out. Number 2, the fees due to the city. Any trash coming into the transfer station that is not hauled by the city of Fayetteville, like hauled by a private individual, anything like that, the city receives a host fee on that, similar to the host fee the tribe receives on trash going to the landfill. Those are all collected and have to be paid to the city, and failure to pay them their fees would, of course, result in a possible breach of contract. And item number 3 is just any other term of the contract. It does cover what terms are in the contract.
Mr. Larry?
So, we discussed this earlier today. After I got thinking about this, I guess I'm a little perplexed. We lease this out to a private entity, private business, right? The landfill?
It's not under a lease. It's under a management agreement.
Okay.
The company operates the landfill for us.
Under that management agreement, they were supposed to be doing the work and doing the deal and making the decisions. And in this, and I can't remember, I'm just going to throw this out there, we also helped them to the tune, I can't remember exactly, but we helped them with money on a D9, I believe. Wasn't that an agreement that we...
Well, the nation owned a DA prior to the contract starting that the nation was making payments
and we
on.
allowed them to...
And they are making the payments on that DA.
Okay. I guess what I'm saying, and I didn't think this earlier, is why are we bidding on trash when we have this agreement with the landfill people?
The reason being that when the city put out the RFP, one of the requirements in their RFP was demonstrating 5 years of experience in the waste business. ICI, the principals involved with ICI, have experience. The company itself is a new company and does not have 5 years of experience in the trash business. Therefore, we worked with Cali and with the Commerce Department here at the Nation to bid it. The Cherokee Nation obviously has that experience with their years in the landfill and those kind of things. So it was bid through the Cherokee Nation.
Thank you.
Mr. Creighton?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Doug, you mentioned something about the principals, that they had over 5 years of experience
Yes.
or whatever. I was told that this ICI is owned by 3 individuals. Are you privy to their names?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Could you give me...
The managing member of the LLC is named Gary Pitchler. He's from Norman, Oklahoma.
I understand he's the agent.
Yes,
I've made 2 requests under for you.
Just a second. I'm sorry. Would you repeat that name a little louder?
Gary Pitchland.
Thank you.
I've made 2 requests under, and Todd helped me with, I think both of them, asking for, the folks that own this ICI. Because ICI don't say, I don't, and I got a copy of the management agreement contract, and this Mr. Fishman's as the agent. That's all I got both times. So, I'd like to request that information if I could. I hate to go to court to get it, or to go through the state if I have to, but I can't see why that would be a problem. So I'm going to request that of you.
Okay, do you want me to submit something to you in writing, or?
Preferably, yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. That's it.
That's it. Ms. Watt?
Mr. Chair, can we have Melanie Knight talk to that as our compliance for FOIA or governmental, or the Governmental Information Act request such? Because they're saying that there was not compliance with the FOIA request. And I know we've talked about the difference between FOIA and other requests we assume are FOIA, and I'd like to understand if there's...
I can address these specific requests if that's...
Mr. Chairman, given the time constraints, this is not germane to the topic at hand. We can discuss FOIA requests at a time.
I'd like that on the next agenda, please.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Doug, I'm having a problem with, we have an outside entity under an agreement contract, I assume, and yet we're still going out soliciting business, because even though we may not be the actual entity doing the solicitation, we're backing it up. We're putting forward the letter of credit. The Cherokee Nation are the ones that's going to have to pay if this company does not fulfill this agreement, and we're not an active participant in it. So I don't understand why our name and our money is backing up a group that has entered into a private agreement, into an agreement with us.
Could I address that? We are requiring that ICI put up a comparable, either a bond, a letter of credit, or a personal guarantee from the owners for the same amount.
Where is it at?
Maybe we need to amend the resolution to include that, but that is what I have requested from the owners.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to table this item.
I've got a motion and a second to table. Table takes precedence over the original motion. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. It will be tabled. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving right along, folks. We're running over what we projected. I see no other business before this committee. I would tell you that the next meeting is tentatively set for July 27th at 3 p.m. I see no other announcements. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. I've got a motion. I've got a second. All in favor say aye. And I'm assuming 5-minute recess before reconvene rules.